Welcome to another Roll for Crit preview. Today, we'll be taking a look at My Singing Monsters, the board game. This is a popular mobile app now coming to the tabletop area, where you're going to compete against each other to see who can raise the best monsters and sing the most beautiful song.
In your play area will always be the main scoreboard, which shows how much gold each player has. You're trying to get the most gold to win. And then next to that are going to be one or more island boards, depending on which level of the game you're playing. They're going to add more options. It's up to you how many you want to throw in there. Right now, we have all of the 5 that were available to us on display. On your turn, you're going to have a hand of 3 monster cards. You'll start the game with 3 single element monster cards, and you will choose one of those and play it to one of the areas on the board, any of the boards that you desire. Then you are going to receive an element token for each symbol on that card. So in this case, Noggin has a rock symbol, you get the rock element token. That is going to be placed onto your music card. You'll see that the music card lines up with different elements on your personal monster board. That's going to come into play later. It's the primary way you're going to be scoring throughout the game. After that, you're going to take a look at the monster you placed and the monster that is next to it. If they do not share any symbols in common, they are going to breed with each other. So these 2 single element monsters are going to become one 2-element monster according to the 2 symbols, in this case rock and air. You're going to randomly be assigned one of the monsters. There's only one type of monster for each element combo, but there are some rare ones which you can trade in for gold if you get those instead of playing them. So there's a little bit of an element of chance in that regard. Otherwise, whatever it is, it goes into your hand and you can play it in some way on a future turn. As the game goes on, you're going to be playing monsters with more and more element symbols attached to them, so you're going to be progressing from the 1-level monsters up to, as we said, 2-level monsters. Those combined with each other will become a level 3 monster, and then finally, the largest monster you can get is one with 4 elements on it. So that's going to have all but one of the elements, and there are fewer monsters for each type. So for those higher level ones, it's more likely that you're going to get those rare ones that you can trade in for gold if you'd like. Now back to those music cards, you're going to be able to trade those in and score them if you manage to cover up all of the black symbols on your card with element tokens that match the line they're currently attached to. You are also able to cover up those gray symbols. They're optional, but they'll get you more points. Once you decide it's time to trade in your card, you will move up on the gold track 1 space for each token that you have on that card. And then if you also covered up all of the gray symbols, you get to flip that music card over. It becomes a gold token. You'll be able to trade that in to again move up the track if you want, or for some other things later on in the game. If you end up landing on top of another player's token, you get to bop forward onto the next space. 2 tokens cannot share a space until the very end of the game. Then you'll receive a new music card, so you will always have 1 music card attached to your character to try to fill up for the next turn. Also, if you're playing in one of the less advanced modes of the game, your character will only have 3 different lines, 3 different element spaces available, so it'll be a little bit simpler if you want to play that way instead.
After you play your monster and possibly breed a new one, but before you score any song cards, you're going to activate the board you're on. This is why you may want to place here versus here, and each one has their own unique ability. The first island is the Plant Island. This is where you can gain more elemental tokens from the nursery. Those end up there if people can't place tokens they earn, such as this person cannot place any grass there, so those would end up there. But that's a way to get some more elemental tokens. The Cold Island is where you get decorations. When you gain one of these, from now on, whenever a player to your left or right does that action, you get an elemental token. The first one is free, the second one costs 1. Pretty much it costs equal to the number of features you already have. The Air Island gives you this bakery. When you come here, you will get one of these food tokens. You can turn this in on your turn when you place a monster to get another token of one you already gained. So if you place a single one, you can get another Earth token if you really needed a lot of those. At the Water Island, you get one of these tokens, which you can choose which side you want to use. The clef symbol allows you to shift your song note up and down in case you want to use different elements, while the rest token allows you to cover up one of the black spaces if you want to just ignore it. After completing your island action and turning in a song card if possible, you will then draw up the 3 cards again using the single elements if you need to, and gameplay will continue. Once someone has entered the green section, players each have one more turn, and then you see who has the most gold and is therefore the winner.
Neither of us have direct experience with the My Singing Monsters app itself, so we cannot comment on how faithful it is or how well it translates or adapts any of the original game's mechanics, but we can talk about the game itself. You got an overview of the rules. I think it definitely is geared more towards younger kids, family play, but what's nice about it is all those different boards you saw, you can start out with just level 1, they call it, which is just the plant island. So it's much simpler. There's only one action you have to worry about. And if you have a more advanced group, or maybe if you start there and continue to play, you can add in all those extra boards that add more complexity and a lot more options and a lot more different types of tokens and features and things. So you can kind of tailor it to suit whatever group you have.
Yes, that add addition or subtraction of complexities. You don't even probably need to go in the order. Just do what you think would work best for your play group. Probably helps out a lot, especially for, at least from what I can tell about the app, is aimed towards a bit of a younger audience. I do like the idea of the breeding and mixing of cards. It became a bit interesting to be like, oh, if I place here, I can sort of skip ahead with 2 level 2s because they didn't match to get that level 4. So there's this weird sort of curve of seeing a lot of the higher level ones, and then because they match an element, you go back down to single ones, then go up to doubles again. So it's this interesting power dynamic to when you see those sort of monsters come about. Of course, odds are, as I picture younger me playing this, you just want to get the ones that you think look cool.
Yeah, they're very weird, very funny, strange designs. It has this goofy, colorful art style that's kind of fun to look through. In the final version of the game, there's going to be a monster book. You'll have to check out the Kickstarter to get a better look at it. That will be a way for you to house all those monster cards so you don't have to worry as much about, keeping the piles sorted and shuffling them and everything like that. We didn't have that for this version of the game. It's not a mechanical addition. It just will make things a little bit easier in terms of sorting and playing and things like that. And yeah, it's definitely, we're fans of, who doesn't love to create monsters and mash them together. It's a pastime we've known from Pokemon and whatnot, and all those other
Yes,
monster breeding games.
we grew up in the Mon phase of the 90s.
That's right. But of course, this one adds the addition of music to it. You got singing. So it's almost, there's this aspect that I would call almost like worker placement. Your cards kind of act as your workers and the things that you're breeding. And then all of that is really feeding into your music cards, which is then this puzzle element of the game, trying to get the correct elements to match that area. So it's an interesting mix of different styles, but that puzzle part of it is kind of what everything else is working towards.
I do love that though. I almost wish that you could extend the cards, or at the very least, at the end of the game, keep what cards you scored and see what tune you came up with.
Yeah, I don't know if you could actually play these notes in any way. I'm not sure. You'd have to probably do something fancy to adapt them if you want to try to make this music. You could just try to sing it for fun in the style that perhaps your monsters might do. And another interesting thing to note is the board itself, the victory track board. The fact that players can bounce over each other. No one can share the same space. That also works in the other direction. If you send someone backwards, or if you spend some of your gold, you hit someone's space, you'll move back another direction. So that can kind of hurt you as well. That's an interesting kind of a dynamic. And then you are sort of the player interaction, I think, comes into play with where people put their monsters, because you might want to also build off of the monsters that they're playing onto the board. And then I think the other big area would be the decoration cards, where obviously if people know you're going to get a benefit from a certain action, they're paying attention to that kind of thing happening.
Yeah, if you have a lot of people who use the air island, I believe, has the treats, then the decoration that gives you extra tokens for that is probably pretty useful.
Yeah, there's a big variety of those, so all kinds of things could happen there. Like we said, it definitely seems like more of a family style game if you've got kids, or you just have people who are young in heart and like weird, goofy singing monsters, or you're a fan of the app. You may want to check this one out. We will have a link to the Kickstarter in the description below so that you can see the final components and more details, how much everything costs, what it's going to look like, the final version on your table.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been a Roll for Crit preview.
Hey, why don't you like this video for us to help us out, or even subscribe to the channel, or even support us on Patreon, where for just a few bucks a month, you can get some really cool extra content. We also do live streams on our Twitch channel and a separate YouTube channel. You can find links to that in the description. You definitely want to catch us playing board games and video games over there.